Hello, Mythic Fam. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Weird Mythic Podcast, hosted by me, of course, Naomi. Thank you, thank you. Try to get some guests on at some point, but I have a hard enough time trying to record and get things out the way I want them to because I am a procrastinator. So I appreciate everybody who continues to listen, even though it's not as consistent as I would hope or I'm not as consistent as I hope I would be. So again, thanks for, listening to Weird Mythic Podcast. I appreciate and love every single one of you. Well, there's a few things that we got to talk about because the world is such a strange place. Am I right? I mean, it's always been strange, but did you guys listen to all that stuff they just put out about the aliens and the UFOs that landed in Vegas in May? I think they started coming out with everything just a couple of weeks ago, and it's like a month later, now you're telling us this? The aliens could have taken over the world by this point, But it was like a month ago, and I'm gonna post all the videos that I found. I got the body cam footage. I found the police video of when they went to interview the family. I have the police video of there was that other cop who was like a few blocks away from where the crash happened, and he got the crash on his body cam. What was really cool about that footage was it looked like a freaking green meteor. Now, I want to say it was back in last November that I saw here in Northern California, there was this green meteor that landed in, I think, near Redding area. But where I was at my brother's house when I saw this green comet, and it fucking lit up the sky like nothing I've ever seen before. And it was super close. It was I don't know, hella late at night. There's no type of lights or extra light interference or pollution or whatever they call it. Anyways, we're out in the country where my brother lives, and it lit up the sky to where all of a sudden we could see across to his neighbor's house. It was insane. And the body cam footage of the cop who got that on his camera, that is the same type of meteor I saw. Of course, the meteor I saw wasn't going down. It was kind of more going straight across from how I saw it, but it was damn near the same freaking thing. But one of the best things about the aliens, UFOs that landed in Vegas in May, I found the 911 dispatcher call, and the guy who's reporting it, calling 911, is reporting that they've got to be between 8 and 10 feet tall. Looks like aliens to us, he says. And the cop, that body cam footage when he's there, you saw something in your backyard and they're trying to describe it. The cop straight up says, this is how I know the cops believed these people, is he straight up said, he's look, if any of those things come back, I kind of don't want you to call us. He straight up told these people who you're supposed to call the cops when you feel like you're in danger. And he's I don't think I want to get that call. Straight up told them. I'm no, I don't know. It was a really, really interesting to just listen. And I'll post all the links I found for this. Something that was really cool was I found a guy who analyzes video, and he took the camera footage of the witnesses because they had it on their phone and recorded it. So this guy took that video footage of the people who are filming their backyard, describing what they see, but it's super, super dark. Again, there's no extra lights around there. There's nothing in their backyard illuminated. They see something. You can't really see it on his video. You see something, there could be something in the background, but it's so dark you don't see shit. So I found a video of a guy who analyzed it, lightened it in certain areas, zoomed in a bit. Anyways, it's great. I watched the whole video of how he did what he did, and he did great. I wish I had the name of his YouTube channel in my notes, but I don't, but I have them in the show notes. Anyways, watch that video because after seeing that and all the work he did to lighten up what they were seeing, there is something there. There is 100% something huge in that backyard, like just kind of chilling there. I didn't see it like moving forward, and none of the witnesses said that it tried to attack them. But there is something in the background of that video, and I do have that in the show notes, so definitely check that out, guys. Something else that is just strange in the world. Uh, Sadly, we found out today that the Ocean Gate submersive was found. Unfortunately, none of the passengers, including the owner of Ocean Gate, he was there with them. None of them survived, unfortunately. And if no one was paying attention to that, there's this company called Watergate, obviously, and they do like submersive and submarine tours to the public. Of course, this is like $250,000 to do these type of tours. But some people do have that type of money, and there was about 5 people that wanted to tour the Titanic underwater and look at it and check it out. So they did. I believe they've done tours like this before, but this submersive thing, it's not a submarine, but you can man it with a controller. And anyways, 5 people went on this little tour, and it was less than 2 hours into the tour that they lost all communication with the mothership above them, the big boat that they were in contact with. And nothing. They had no signals, nothing going on. It just lost. They finally found it today, and they're saying that the craft itself just couldn't handle the pressure of being in the ocean like that. And unfortunately, I don't know if they died from lack of oxygen, which could have been less than 4 days underwater, or if they also passed away because of the pressure underwater. Very sad. My thoughts after all that sadness, was it just poor engineering? Was this really just poor engineering, shitty craftsmanship for that submersive submarine thing? Like they were just gone, poof, out of nowhere. And then they finally found them, but it was like, and it was near the Titanic where they were supposed to be going, where they found it. So was it really just shitty engineering? Was it like, I'm going to put it out there, guys, aliens? We've had plenty of conspiracies out there that aliens are living in our oceans, that they have like hubs there. Was it them? I, at first, honestly, before today, like a few days ago, like Monday and Tuesday, I thought that it was going to be like completely gone, poof, gone. But they were found. So my theory went out the window of it being maybe they went into some sort of alternate reality or different timeline, or found like a Bermuda Triangle type of thing and just went to a different dimension. That's what I thought. It's the ocean. That's immediately what my mind goes to. But it was just fucking crazy that they were just gone like that when they've done tours like this before. So my heart goes out to the whole families of everybody who passed away during that. My hearts just go out to all of you. It's so sad. I'm glad they were found though, and that they have an answer to where their loved ones went. But dude, if you asked me if they were going to be found a day or two ago, I would have been like, nah, they're not even in this realm anymore. They're on a different, timeline, different area, something. They went somewhere. They went to a wormhole. Who knows? That was my initial thought. It's the ocean. That's the only thing I could think of. If it's just gone, and there's no evidence of anything coming to the surface of the ocean, then they were either taken by aliens or put into a different timeline through a wormhole, whatever you want to call it, alternate reality, parallel universe, all that shit. So let's get into today's Giants episode. Gonna totally move away from my alien talk. Today's episode, we are going to be talking, or I'm going to be talking about, you guys can talk to me through the speakers. But today's episode is going to be about the Christian and Jewish theology on the Nephilim. I learned quite a bit about Judaism after doing research, because I, of course, constantly would be like, well, what does that mean? Well, what does that mean? So I did a lot of extra research that I didn't put into the episode, but got to keep it focused on the giants, the Nephilim. I've never heard a whole lot about giants when I went to Christian churches when I was a child. I do not practice any religion. I haven't probably ever really in my life. I did go to a lot of Christian churches because my dad was a practicing Christian. And I did go to Catholic church once a year with my grandma on Easter because she is a practice or was a practicing Catholic. But nothing really stuck with me. So I can't, I don't remember anything of my Bible studies that they talked about the Nephilim really. They did talk about, of course, who is it? David and Goliath. So, and I think I have them in the show too. They didn't really talk about that part of Christianity. I feel like it's more, you know, Old Testament, I guess. But anyway, so the Nephilim. They were known to be great warriors, and most of all, for this show, giants. The Nephilim were the sons of heavenly angels and human women. They were hybrids born of unnatural union. Unnatural union was in a lot of the research that I saw. The angels that God, big G, God, sent to watch over humans ended up being sexually attracted to the women. So God sent angels down, Old Testament times, and said, just watch over the humans, make sure they're good to each other, but don't interfere. But of course, the angels were like, that chick's kind of hot. And the human women were like, you see them angels? They were like, cut. Like, I'm sure they had to be, right? And could you blame them? Everybody was attracted to everybody. Anyways, once the angels and women had sex, the women became pregnant with the angels' babies, which produced the Nephilim. The Nephilim were known to be wicked. They had violent, superhuman strength, along with their just giantness. They were huge people, huge beings. They were also known to be like bullies and tyrants. And they actually left behind a huge, like, legacy, if you will, of fear in that time. But let's talk a little bit about the baby daddy angels here, okay? So it is said that the angels who mated with the human women were, quote, rebels against God. Lured by the charms of women, they fell, as in like fallen angels. They fell, defiled their purity, and introduced all manner of sinfulness to earth. Their giant offspring were wicked and violent. The flood was occasioned by their sinfulness. Yeah, that's right, guys. Because the angels couldn't keep their heavenly dicks in their pants, the giants were the main reason for the great flood. So there's that. So the angels not only brought the Nephilim into existence by mating with human women, and you know, it's not like the women didn't want them anyway. So the angels and women created the Nephilim, but then the angels went off and told human men and women secrets of heaven and showed them secrets and showed them what war was. And some of these angels actually taught human men how to be evil, and they pretty much just corrupted them, which is really the opposite of what God wanted. And so now God has to deal with defiant angels and their giant offspring. In the Christians' King James Bible, the Nephilim are mentioned, but not really to any extent of what I believe it should be. You hear about them, but really not much. You hear about the story of David and Goliath, like I said before, but not really a whole lot about Goliath, just that he needed to be defeated and how David did it. It wasn't until the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were discovered in 1947, but written around the year 300 BC, when those were found, there was also the Book of Giants that was in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They were discovered with all the lost scripture of the giants. That's right, Book of Giants, guys. They found the Book of Giants, which I didn't even know was a freaking thing. The complete copy of the Book of the Giants was in the Book of Enoch. Now, Enoch, that book was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls also. That book was mentioned in the Christian and Jewish Bibles. I'm totally drawing a blank of the Torah or the Talmud. I'm sorry. Somebody enlighten me, please. But This is where the Book of Giants was found, was in the Book of Enoch. Enoch was alive before the Great Flood and pretty much right up to the Great Flood, if not a little longer. I know he was one of those men in the Bible that lived for a very, very long time. And in his book, it is described that angels and humans mated and had the children. There was one angel, an evil angel named Shirnehaza, who had two specific Nephilim children of his own named Oya and Ha-ya. Shirnehaza lured those 200 angels to get with human women and to just not listen to God's rules of just watching over them. So this angel convinced 200 angels to just not listen to God, just like that. The hybrid angel-human children, the Nephilim, were giants of over 450 feet high, according to the Book of Enoch. They were also just flat out violent, ugly, bulbous features, mismatched eyes. Some of them had legs as big as logs or trees. The Nephilim were just flat out evil in the Book of Enoch, where the Book of Giants is. At one point, it says that they ate all the food, all the grass, all the trees on earth. And then they started to eat animals, and then they decided to try eating humans, which I think is cannibalism since they are half human, and I'm finding a pattern with giants, you guys. Yeah, cannibals. Who knew? Anyways, the Nephilim and their angel dads were just oppressing humans and taught them evil acts while, just being on Earth. Along in the Book of Giants, at some point, there was a group of the Nephilims who kind of started to develop human-type feelings, is the only way I could describe it. They were all also having like these vivid dreams and visions. One of the Nephilim, who was named Mawe, had a specific dream about him getting into the water, and he has this like stone tablet when he's getting into the water. When he comes out of the water with the tablet, there's names on it. He didn't recognize the names, but we recognize them, right? It's Noah, Shem, Japheth, and Ham. After telling his other buddy giants about his dreams and visions, those other two giants, Oya and Ha-ya, kind of spoke up and started to question Mawe about, where did you get these visions, man? Like, you don't just have these visions. And after kind of grilling Mawe a little bit, he ended up admitting that it was his dad, the angel Barakel, who gave him those images. All the giants kind of started to argue about the visions. Many of them had the visions about like a garden going up in flames, and that really scared the Nephilim. Some believed the visions were a bad omen, and others like Oya and Ha-ya believed that the visions meant jack shit. The giants actually asked Gilgamesh what his thoughts were on those visions. Now, I don't know if this is the same Gilgamesh that's in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is what, Greek? But I think it's freaking interesting that his name is in the Book of Giants. So the Nephilim ended up asking another giant Nephilim, whose name is Gilgamesh, who was the strongest out of all of them, what he thought about the images. Now, he kind of had an interesting answer, which was, I know I'm strong, but I'm not stronger than God. But he did believe that they were more of a bad omen. It was around this time that the giants decided that they needed to, help. They needed to ask a third party about these visions. And that's when they decided to go to Enoch himself. Even though Enoch was, human, a man, they knew that he spoke with God, so they did respect him for that. Mawe was the giant to go talk to Enoch. And it is said that he flew into the skies. Yes, flew into the skies and found Enoch in a desert, which makes sense because I know that Enoch wandered a lot and was in desolate places, so it makes sense that Mawe flew up and found him in a desert. So Mawe then told Enoch about the visions, and the giants were like kind of freaking out over them. So Enoch was like, all right, I'll go talk to God. I'll go see if he's doing this or if these visions actually mean anything. A few days after Malway going to Enoch and asking for help, few days, Enoch finds the giants and comes to them with pretty much bad news. God had told Enoch that he did not send the visions, but that he was planning on punishing the Nephilim and the humans because of all their wickedness. Enoch tried to intervene when God made this decision, but of course God didn't listen. He did ask, though, if the Nephilim repent and ask for forgiveness, then he would spare them. But the great flood was still going to come, kill everything. Well, as we know, besides Noah and his family, I'm sure there was other families, not just his, but that's my own theory. So before God sent the great flood, he did sound out like an army of angels to kill the angel-human hybrids. He slaughtered all the giants, even those that repented. After the angels murdered like most of the Nephilim, God then just sent the great flood. Some of the Nephilim giants even saw the flood coming and even saw the great ark that had all of the animals and Noah's family on it. In the book of Giants, it is said that some of the Nephilim saw the Leviathan come out of the water. And once the flood came, and Oya actually fought it. Oya got on the head of the Leviathan and started to just like beat the fuck out of it. And the Leviathan must be pretty weak because it retreated. But once it retreated, there was an angel that came up behind Oya and stabbed him right through the back and through the chest. So all of that is in Jewish and Christian mythology and in their theology. And it is also said, and I think this is more in like Jewish theology, that the souls of the giants stayed on Earth and they are there to hunt or haunt, not hunt, but haunt humans. So yeah, I mean, guys, I have multiple passages that I found about the giants that are in the Bible. So many different ones. And I wasn't really sure how I was gonna like present the passages because I can just go ahead and like read them off, you know, like in the Hebrew Bible, Genesis 6:1-4. Also Numbers 13:33 and Ezekiel 32. The book of Enoch, of course. In Enoch 1, it says great giants whose height was 300 cubits. And that does equal out to 450 feet, my dude. So in Genesis, Numbers, Ezekiel, the Nephilim are mentioned. Even found that giants are in the Quran as well. I mean, if I'm going to talk about religion, I'm going to try to talk about all of it. I didn't know that the Quran had giant mythology. So in the Quran 26:130, it is said that the people of Ad, A-D, or Aid, I'm not sure, but A-D, are giants up to 100 feet. Yeah, that's huge. I love that they're mentioned. And there's this thing about Ad and his family and how they're tied to all other things in the Quran, but apparently there are giants there. I also read that in the book of Enoch that the Nephilim did also procreate, and their type of children were called the Eliud, which is Eliod, which made me think that those are even other types of hybrids. So anything under, this 450 feet of Nephilim giants, there were shorter giants, and maybe those are ones that could have survived after the flood. We just don't know. Also, in the Babylonian Talmud, it is mentioned that in Niddah, Niddah, 61a, this is where Siho and Og are mentioned in the Talmud, and Og is described as a giant. There's also talks in the Jewish Bible of these beings called Rephates, and they are also described as like spirits, but they're of an ancient race of giants. And I couldn't find a whole lot on the Rephites, but I had to mention that giants are just mentioned again. So we got the Christian Bible, the Jewish Talmud, we got the Quran, all mentioning giants. Even at Genesis 1 through 4, I see it. When they talk about the Watchers, those are the angels that then got with the humans and had the Nephilim. So yeah, it's really interesting how much they are mentioned without going into a lot of details on who and what they are. So, of course, I gotta pretty much mention Goliath also. Now, in the Christian Bible, it's in the book of Samuel. Goliath is a Philistine giant who was murdered or defeated by David. And it states that he was trying to get rid of him. He was a tyrant trying to get rid of him. And it is said that Goliath is about 7 to 10 feet is what it sounds like. So in 1 Samuel 17, twice a day for 40 days, Goliath, the champion of the Philistines, would come out night and day and just ask anybody to challenge him, like fight between him and anybody. No one can kill Goliath. And David decided that he would. But what he did is he took the stones, I think it was 4 stones. I think there was something written on them also, but he just like freaking hit Goliath in the center of the forehead a few times and then cut off his head. So that's how David got rid of that giant. In the Talmud, Goliath is the son of Orpah, Orpah, who is actually Ruth's sister, which I went, what? And that's in the Old Testament. And anyways, the book of Ruth is very interesting. That's where my name comes from, actually. Naomi, that's not what my parents were thinking of when they named me that, but it just so happened that I'm also in the Bible. Interesting story. Anyways, Orpah conceived Goliath. And I'm like, so did she have sex with an angel? No, actually. It just says that she conceived him from like multiple, what is called polyspermy. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently Goliath just had multiple dads. It was said that he had 100 dads. According to the Talmud, Goliath had 100 dads. Doesn't say exactly how his mom had all of those polyspermy fetalization things going on, but that happened there. In Quran 2:247 through 252, Goliath also appears. And it's really pretty much the same story as in the Jewish Talmud and the Christian Bible. But I was like, so in 3 different religious books, now we have the same dude? Freaking crazy. Yeah. There's also just so many there's in the book of Genesis, Ezekiel, Revelations, it said that God was like against them, meaning Gog and Magog, which is in the Jewish and Christian Bible also. It's just a lot of the time their giants are just always bad. They can also be demons. They always corrupt people on earth. It's just, there's a lot. And you can't always find like very, very specific stories on these giants, like nothing real personal, just that they were these giants. This is what they did. This is how they died, which was through the Great Flood. So yeah. Something else I kind of wanted to mention, just because we're talking about giants, is if anybody has any other information on the Anunnaki, they were gods of Sumerians and Babylonians. They were known to be gods of sky and earth, known to have powers and be very huge physically in size. And they were known to watch over humans. And they were also found to just be attracted to human women and would sleep with them. And I'm just like, so the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, are they the same? They might not be because of everything that's not connected, or it is connected from the Babylonians to Christianity, Judaism. And I don't know. I thought about that the whole time I'm doing research on, is the Anunnaki has anything to do with this race of giants? So I found an article, and I believe it's from the King James Version of the Bible, in Baruch, Baruch, Baruch 3:26 through 28. This is the passage. There were the giants, famous from the beginning, that were of so great stature and so expert in war. Those did not the Lord choose, neither gave he the way of knowledge unto them. They were destroyed because they had no wisdom and perished through their own foolishness. Pretty much what I got from that is the gist of what happened. God didn't make these giants. They were just there, or they became to be. And he did not approve them to have any knowledge of the world. And then he had to get rid of them, destroy, and they were perished. All of that just made me think so much. And I couldn't help but think of the Anunnaki and all the mention of the giants that are in 3 of the main religious texts throughout the world. So I don't know. You guys got to tell me what you think about the Nephilim, about the giants in the Bible, about if you think that it's also connected to the Anunnaki. You just got to let me know. And if you guys have any, information on those aliens that landed in Vegas, send that my way also. You got to go to all of my social media, Weird Mythic Podcast on Twitter, Weird Mythic Podcast on Instagram, which also has my link tree that goes to all of my stuff. Don't forget to go to Weird Mythic Podcast on YouTube, and please send me any information on the aliens, on the Nephilim, on the Anunnaki. Did I miss any giants in the Bible? What is your theory on all of it? Send it to me to weirdmythicpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.